All right. So welcome back. I'm happy to see a lot of returning faces from previous forums. Here's a little bit of nostalgia from ye old days before the Great Flood, and as well as one picture of our new world. Happy to see some returning faces, happy to see some new faces as well. Welcome one and all. I imagine many of you already know what EETI does, but I wanted to give a quick overview for those who are new. So EETI is UGA's engineering education outfit. Our goal is to address national challenges by creating and responding to local opportunities to advance engineering education as part of a passionate community for student learning and success. We have several different kinds of programming, including engineering education research, which my colleague Nikki Sohutska leads, and graduate student programs to invest in our future faculty in engineering education, as well as development programming for our current faculty, including research initiation led by Dr. Sohutska and faculty development and teaching and learning led by me. I wanted to share with you some upcoming EETI events for fall 2020. If you look at your chat, I am now going to share with you our programming for the fall. I just have to get to the file. So I'm sharing with you the set of slides that I'll be going over the next few minutes, as well as a copy of our current programming flyer. And I notice folks coming in right now, so I'll also share this when we're done with the set of slides, because chat isn't retroactive, so folks coming in after I share them will not see them. Welcome those who are trickling in. I hear lots of exit interchimes, even though I can't exactly see everyone's face, but hello. So coming up this fall, we have 4 kinds of programming in addition to the engineering education forums. Nikki Sohutska is leading an engineering education research incubator on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. The first meeting will be right after this forum. So if you're interested in just exploring engineering education, or you have some ideas that you want to elaborate on related to engineering education, please contact Dr. Sohutska. On tomorrow, we have our first student motivation faculty learning community. That's at 11 a.m. on Wednesday every 3 weeks. And we'll be going over various theories and practical applications to improve student motivation in the classroom, which is especially important now that we're asking students to self-discipline and hold themselves accountable now more than ever. We also have community mentoring meetings, which were popular in the spring. The focus of these meetings this semester is to talk about things that are going well or challenges that we can overcome as part of a supportive community around the current hybrid learning environment.
Do you have any extra empty water bottles?
Empty water bottles?
Yes, because I know you drink lots and lots and lots
we
of
have
water.
some guests. Welcome.
So
I'm going to go ahead and mute all. Feel free to unmute yourselves if you'd like to contribute to the conversation. So the community mentor meetings are being held on Mondays at 1 p.m. and Thursdays at 11 a.m. The next meeting will be this Thursday. I will send out those invitations to the whole faculty, but do please contact me if you have any questions or concerns. And then finally, Dr. Savadati is holding peer mentoring social distance picnics. We had a wonderful picnic breakfast this morning out in the amphitheater right beside the creamery. And our next meeting will be next Tuesday. So please contact Dr. Savadati if you're interested in being added to the mailing list for those picnics. If you're curious, BYOF does stand for Bring Your Own Food, so it is a bring your own food kind of event. I also wanted to point out that we have a funding opportunity this fall. EETI is giving out research and innovation grants to support pilot classroom innovations or engineering education research projects. The grant amounts vary from $1,500 to $4,000 depending on the type of grant and your needs. And the deadline to apply is this Friday. So if you're interested in doing something new in your classroom or to study anything related to engineering education, we do have this available to get you started, and we encourage you to apply as soon as you can. Please reach out to Dr. Sohetska if you're interested in applying or have any questions. The link to the solicitation is here in this slide, which again, I have shared with you and will share with you again in a few moments if you would like to see what's needed to apply. So before we jump into our forum content proper, does anyone have any questions that you'd like to ask about our programming this year or this semester? I don't hear anyone, but I also don't know if you're actually allowed to unmute yourselves. So yes, I think you are.
Yeah, this seems to be working. I was just wondering about the food for the forums, but never mind.
So I wish I could give food for the forums, but unfortunately, I don't think door dashing everyone individually would be a very sustainable plan for forum food. And, you know, we'll be happy to bring back the food as soon as we're safely able to, but we wanted to make sure everyone's able to engage with engineering education in an environment where you're not worried about getting infected, and running our content fully online was the best way to do that.
Do we get forum food credit? You know, like store credit?
Meal tickets? I don't think we'll be able to do that, but I appreciate the sentiment and the idea. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump to our forum content proper. So this is what you all came for today, the 6th Semesterly Engineering Education Showcase, where we'll be focusing on ways to engage students in hybrid and online learning. So our speakers today will be Eliza Banu, Kun Yao, and Rui Li. Eliza is a lecturer in ECAM, Kun Yao is a senior lecturer in ECE, and Rui Li is an alumnus of our first Dean's Engineering Education Fellowship cohort in ECE. He graduated over the summer and just started working a job at New York University. So he will be joining us in the latter half of the forum. He had a conflict for the first half. So we will go in this order, starting with Dr. Banu. So I will stop sharing my screen, and you should have permission to share yours.
Okay, thank you, John. So John asked me to share a couple of things that I am doing different this semester, and kind of how I organized a little bit my classroom in terms of if they should find out if they are participate online or in class. So I'll just go ahead and share my screen. It's a Google Doc that I came up with. And I used it in the past for allowing students to schedule themselves for an exam. So if at the end of the semester, because I have 3 or 4 sections, I allow students to take the final in any of these exams whenever they're scheduled by the university. So I've used this in the past, and I kind of adjusted it to now our hybrid world in classrooms. So in this format, I kind of divided my students in groups, thinking that they can get to know each other and still foster kind of a group work kind of mentality. Initially, I wanted students to be paired, grouped in groups of 3, where at least one of them would be in the classroom in any week or in any day, and then the rest of them on Zoom. So everyone would be on Zoom at the same time, but at least there will be one person in the group would be in the class to facilitate conversations with me in that group. It didn't really work just because of Zoom failing me on pre-assigning groups, but it still works in the way that students have kind of got to know each other, and they really like the groups that they are in, and they, some of them, of course, and they are still communicating outside of classrooms in those groups. The way that this file works, this is the list of students that are, for instance, supposed to come yesterday to class, but they have a value of 1. It means that they are in class, and this is the list of students that are supposed to be in on Zoom in a certain class. Students can see the number of seats allowed in a classroom and the total seats that were filled, as well as the number of seats opened. And all that they have to do is to change their value from 0 to 1 in order to open up a seat and let me know that now they are going to show up on Zoom rather than be in class. They do not have access, so this file is protected. All of these the entire file is protected except this this column right here, and they cannot change anything else in this file. So one thing that they don't know is the fact that I also have the list of their names next to their student ID, and if I click on a certain student ID, I can see the name. They can't, because it's all whited out. So again, I'm the only one who can associate a number, a student ID number with their name, and it's pretty easy to change a 0 to 1 or a 1 to 0, and the number of seats open change. So every student can just look at how many seats are open for a class if they want to show up to class in a certain day for a certain class. And every week there is a different file. I know Grace is using it, and Grace is actually putting she's put all of days on one spreadsheet and then hiding different columns, so it can be organized however needed. I don't mind sharing this template with you if you want to. Do you have any questions about this before I jumped into the main?
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
So does that mean that you don't assign people to come to class? Students elect whether to come to class or not, or is this in addition to being assigned?
So this is, so before the semester started, I was sending out the survey, and I told them, what is your preferred day to come into class, Monday or Friday? Because on Wednesday, everyone should be in class except students that were quarantined. So, and many of them have chosen, of course, Monday to come to class. So because of that, I kind of said, okay, this is the half of the students that are gonna come on Monday, and this is the half of students that should come on Friday. But if you have a documented absence or you don't want to come class, you just change your value.
Okay, I understand.
But I'm pushing them with participation points. I'm pushing them to show up to class if they can. Because I had students on Zoom, and probably you all did as well, where they were in the car driving. I'm like, no, this is not class. No, it's not possible. So I am going more into like taking participation points off for doing things like that. Questions? No? Okay. So I'll start sharing this. Then I'll just go into Top Hat, which is the main reason. Let's see this. Oops, sorry about that. So I used to use Top Hat for my classes in the past to take attendance, just so I don't use a lot of time on during class time to like or at the end of the semester to just check if students were in class or not. Just because of extra credit participation, my students get a lot of extra credit, and you're eligible for extra credit points only if you showed up for class, like up to 80% during the semester. If you have less than 80% attendance, you're not eligible for extra credit. So the grades that you got are your grades. I also don't curve. It's debatable there, but because they have so much extra credit. So I used to use Top Hat for attendance and short class discussions, but this semester I kind of wanted to use more features of Top Hat, and one of them was when I am presenting videos to have questions in between short videos. So if we are talking about hydrostatic pressure and I have 3 different topics that go into hydrostatic pressure, I want them to stop at a certain point in the video, answer a question from that video. It can be as easy or as involved as I choose to, and then move on in with the next video. The thing is, Top Hat though is not allowing me to. It's allowing students to move on to see the next video without answering a question, or answering a question without seeing the video, which doesn't really bother me. If you know the answer to the question, or I'm choosing questions in such a way that it takes most of the video out, it's we can work that out. But I wanted to use this feature a lot more this semester, so I've moved a lot of my content from ELC and quizzes creating and questions in class to be a little bit more having everything kind of in one place in terms of the material that I want students to have. So for instance, hydrostatic pressure, as I mentioned, they have video, question, and then they have their problem sets assigned to them that will be working in class, as well as solutions showing up later in the week after the due date, for this one topic. So it provides, Top Hat provides kind of a similar organization that we can have on ELC. But it was easier for me to tell students what to watch for Monday, what to watch for Wednesday, and prepare for Wednesday, what to bring to class on different day based on what we'll be doing in that certain class. It also allows for me to ask multiple types of questions, and it's very easy to create those questions. So here you can have multiple choice, 1-word answer, numeric answer, and it's really, really good about the percentage. I used to use Wiley Plus for the quizzes during the semester to allow them more practice, and it was very finicky with the tolerances, but I found that Top Hat is better on that. Fill in the blanks, matching, click on target, sorting, long answer, video assignments. So they have multiple kind of assignments that you can create. I have not used the file submission. Well, let me go with what I've used. I've used in the past a multiple choice, word answer, and you can create a cloud as well, a word cloud. With that, numeric answer, I've sometimes given, especially before an exam, I gave a competition kind of in between groups of students. I allowed them to get extra points if they finished a problem correctly right before an exam. Shows them how ready they are for an exam. It was a lot of fun, and they liked it too. So there are multiple types of questions. The click on target I really like for instance, for this question right here, they had to choose the equal pressure, and they just click on the points where pressure is equal. For some questions, it's creating a heat map where it tells me, if I want to look at results, it tells me where most students chose an answer, and that's pretty cool as well. In class, the way that I use Top Hat is I have a database of questions. Right now I have only for 2 topics, but I have my full database for my previous course last semester. I am adding them as I'm going. For in class, I go and I click on a question and I present it to the entire class. So regardless if the students are in class or they are at home, they have access to the website and they can do real-time answers for a certain question. They choose the answer, and if, for instance, they choose half of them are with A and half of them with B, I ask the question again after I allow them to talk about that question in groups. So I use it in class at least once a week. Again, I take attendance with it. And I gave them a quiz last week. Another quiz is coming up this week. A quiz allows me to do multiple versions of a question, or I can have not necessarily the same question with different numbers, but I can change the question completely for version B, for instance, but in the same topic. The one question, so these are all multiple choice or numerical answers. You can have math, so they can insert equations. I haven't used that one though. One that I really wanted to use this time was the matching question, where I gave them a description of a system and they have to show the velocity profile for that system. So they are matching profiles with a certain description of a system. I really like that question though. I worked a lot on that. That's how I've been using it so far. In terms of how results are showing up, I have opened like a grade book. And are you guys able to see this in terms of sharing? Okay, thank you, Dominic. So the attendance, I can modify attendance. I can put if the student is excused or really absent. So it's dropping that point altogether if I have an email for documented excuses. And it opens up every question or every time that I ask questions in class, and I can see the students' responses for each question. So in quizzes, again, very detailed as to what question, average for a certain question. So it seems like on the inclined free question, like 30% of my students got it wrong. So I need to look into it again and see what happened. And then these are all numerical questions that that can be addressed as well. Okay, this was a lot. I've kind of showed a lot of the things that I do with this. Another reason for which I use this is because for every question, so if I'm creating a question, multiple choice, let's say, it allows me to, question 1, it allows me to assign a grade of correctness or participation. So my students get points for participation in class this semester. I give them 5 points participation. That means answering questions on Top Hat in class or the ones between videos. And for attendance. So they have 3 ways of getting participation points. And if they are not participating on Zoom during their group meetings, I told them that I am reserving the prerogative to take participation points off. So it's in their best interest to at least participate in some questions. I don't give them points for being correct. On some questions, I am insisting on them being correct just because it's an easier question, or and that just increases their participation points in the grade book and in the final grades system. That's about how I'm using it. The Top Hat has some more options of like creating discussions. It's another way that I want to use it this week as an exam is coming up for them. Virtual classroom, it's basically the Zoom of Top Hat. That I haven't used it, but it seems that it works pretty well as well. You can upload your slides if you want, if you're using slides. Whiteboard Sketch, again, can use it with your a pencil if you have like a tablet. So we can save all of your classroom interactions as well and allow students to see it. It's a very user-friendly interface. It works much easier than, to be honest, ELC, and I definitely prefer it to frustrations from ELC coming up. But that's how I use it this semester. I'll let you know if it's what the experience is. So far, I've had a pretty good experience with it. There are some glitches, of course, but it's been a really good experience in the past with attendance and asking classroom questions and getting students to talk about certain aspects of every concept with real-time answers.
Thank you so much, Eliza. Can we get a virtual round of applause, whether that's on camera or with the Zoom reactions? Now I'd like to open the floor for questions for Eliza. I see Adele has raised his hand.
I have a question for the in-class activity. So in this case, you give them assignment, and present also assignment, or the assigned assignment is different than the present assignment?
So I think I know what you're talking about, what you're asking. When I am present, yeah, they are different. So their assignments in my class are mostly problem solving.
Okay.
So in that case, I just upload a file for them and they have access to it. They can download it, they can print it, they can do whatever they need to do with it. But in terms of questions, that's when I use the present feature instead of assigning it.
Okay.
So because I'm asking these questions in the classroom and it goes towards their participation.
Okay, so for the present question, how you can make sure that the students collaborate, the one in the class with the one outside the classroom? And
everyone is on Zoom. Whenever I want them to work in groups and collaborate is on Zoom. I have not used, I have not used that feature yet of the contest, to be honest, yet. I'm planning on using it on Friday. But the way that I've done this so far is because I had most students in the class, because it was on a Wednesday when I used this, I had like 15 students in the class and like 5 or 4 in the on Zoom. I said, Zoomers, you guys are one group, and then I split the students in the classroom in small groups to discuss these small concept questions and see what is going on. The interesting part is that I could hear what they were talking on Zoom, and they would say, wait, why did you put A? Because I guessed, so it gives me also a little bit of
so you use the breakout room in Zoom?
I wanted to, for this, I wanted students to be in the breakout rooms, but the pre-assigned breakout rooms don't work a lot.
Okay.
I have more than half of my students that are not assigned in the proper breakout room, and I don't want to waste 5-10 minutes of class to move students in their own breakout rooms. So I just go on the fly and I say, okay, we're redistributing all of this depending on the number of students on Zoom, depending on the number of students in class.
Yeah, so I can talk about my experience I use the same top hat feature, but I assign a problem to them from the beginning of the class up to the end of the class. So I allow them to use the chat feature in the Zoom. They can chat individually, and but the problem here, some of the students, they don't have other than the smartphone to use the top hat and the Zoom at the same time.
I am in a classroom where it's a computer classroom, so
Okay.
I don't have an excuse of not getting on Zoom.
Yeah, you are lucky.
There is a computer in the class, so they don't have that. The only thing they have to have is either their headphones if they want to talk, or just chat, use chat.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele.
We've got probably time for one more question if anyone wants to chime in.
Hello, Nathaniel
Eliza,
here.
I was wondering.
Okay.
So it looks like Nikki has ceded to Nathaniel.
Please, let's have Nikki.
All right, looks like Nathaniel is ceded to Nikki.
I was just wondering, Eliza, how much of what you've learned with Top Hat you would use when we return to face-to-face classes at some point? Is this sort of a, I know you used to use it, you were saying for attendance, but now you're using it much more comprehensively. Yeah. Is this a temporary thing, or do you think there are some permanent shifts here?
No, I think that I'll be using it a lot more, especially for quizzes, because the way that I was doing quizzes online, I was using Wiley Plus, and on Wiley Plus, they had to pay a lot of money for the Wiley Plus and the textbook and all of that. So with Top Hat, they have an option where it costs them per semester like $20. The university and Top Hat, they have an agreement where they're paying $20 per semester up to like $70 lifetime, so, or something like that. It's not as expensive as paying $100 and something for only one semester to use Wiley Plus for only one textbook. So, and they can get the textbook in multiple ways and fashions. I don't even care about the addition of the textbook that they are using, so they can get it much, much cheaper than if they would get Wiley Plus. So because I'm creating that shift, I think that I will be using it way more in class and outside of class too. I'm testing some of these features this semester a lot as well. Like, I want to see how discussion works. I tested it once of a couple of semesters ago and went out pretty well, where I can allow students to post things anonymously as well, so they don't have to put their names on. So, but yeah, I'll be using it way more.
Hey, Eliza, I'm curious if you know of any features that ELC has that Top Hat does not, because this looks really powerful and so much cleaner and neater and more user-friendly than ELC.
So you're asking if ELC has some features that Top Hat does not?
Correct.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I know that ELC works closely with Kaltura, so I don't know how Kaltura videos would copy here. You can, to be honest, I don't know what more powerful can be for in ELC. Just to kind of show you, one thing that you can do, and I'm gonna use this for exams, and to me it was so much easier last time when we went straight to online. I can assign a certain PDF or a certain exam to only one individual. So I can assign it to select students, and I just messed up, but I showed you guys names, but it's not, it doesn't have like grades or stuff, but I can assign it to only one student here, this is a temporary student, I can assign it for a certain period of time. So if I have students that are in DRC, but they are taking it online by themselves, they wouldn't have to be a DRC, and I can assign it to them certain times. So much easier to assign one student or individual or groups in Top Hat than in ELC. So to answer your question, the short answer is I don't know. I have not seen anything extra here. You can also connect the gradebook on Top Hat to your LMS, to your ELC, and it puts the grades on ELC automatically. Again, I haven't used it yet. I am starting to use it more and more, but in slow increments, so I don't have a lot of, like, if something goes wrong, I don't have a lot of things to fix at the same time.
So Top Hat seems like a powerful tool and an alternative system. And if you're interested, if you saw any features here that look interesting to you and that you would like to have in your classroom, I think it's a good option to consider. And like you said, it's once a student pays for it for one class, they have it for all their classes. So there's definitely a bulk use advantage to Top Hat. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and move us forward. Let's give another virtual round of applause for Eliza, and we'll move over to Kun Yao.
Hi, how are you? Thanks, John, for inviting me to share some of my experience. I think I have talked a lot in different faculty meetings, sharing ideas. Now I just summarize them in the PPT slides, and I will. Let me do it. Share. Yeah, you can see it, right?
Can see it just fine.
Okay. So first, I will start from Confucius. This is a famous philosopher and educator in China 1,000 years ago. And he has a lot of students. And one of his teaching philosophy is that teachers should teach according to the student's ability or aptitude. So that means, for example, when we talk about students, they have different major, right? Because some of them like this, some of them like that. But even in one class, when we have 30 or 40 students, they also have their different intrinsic property. Some of them, for example, like more hands-on work. Some of them more like the theoretical simulation or whatever. That's why I feel that the highest requirement for a teacher is that if we can look at what the student quality is and then find a better way for them to learn, then that will be more efficient. Again, I think this is the highest requirement. It's very difficult in real world, but we can still do something to get close to that. Therefore, for me, in my teaching, I think my first work is to teach students knowledge and technique. The second one, I need to teach students how to learn because it's a lifelong activity. The third thing is that we need to teach them how to think. They will be independent person or engineer in future. They have independent thinking. They may need to create new problems like Elon Musk. We will never imagine the SpaceX or Tesla 10 years ago. So I hope that if my student can reach some level, then I will be very glad. And another thing is that when I was a student, I know that some of my classmates, they never go to classroom. They copy my homework, but in the exam, they are always higher than me. And when I talk with them, I found that they do understand deeper than me. They just have their own method. They don't feel they need to go to classroom. So from that time, I realized that people are quite different. So different people have different learning need. So if I could provide such flexibility to different students, they may follow their steps. They do not have to follow my way. So considering each student is different, I need more communication with them. And also due to the impact of COVID-19. So I think I would like to try to know each student as much as possible. And I also want a student involved in decision making of the class. When we talk about how to have this class, it's teaching and learning. It's not just from my perspective, learning things. Student and me are on the same boat. That's why we need to work together as a team to make the class better. That's why I want a student involved in decision making. So finally, I would try to provide flexibility to students as much as possible. Sometimes I told the student, if you believe you understand everything and you could prove to me you understand the concept and you can use the concept to solve real world problem, that means you already reached that level. So if you don't want to come to classroom, you don't want to write homework, talk to me. If you can prove you have that ability, everything can be negotiated, because the most important thing is you can learn. So to know each student, this is what I do. I normally take pictures at the beginning of the semester and then write name beside it, because I don't have good memory. So this is a good way for me to know who is who. When I grade homework or grade exam or read a lab report, I can recall what they did in class. And I believe some of you might do something similar. And about involving students in the decision making, I have Zoom meetings with my students during spring break or summer, even before UGA or the college require us to contact students. I already contact with my student. So some students told me that I'm the first lecturer to reach out to them, and I give them an opportunity to share their thinking, what they think about the coronavirus, what they think about the new semester, the classroom, the teaching, what they are afraid of, what they really think will be helpful for them to learn. So some of them would like to write me a long email after the meeting saying that this is my situation and that is my thinking, so I can know more. And I also ask a student, if you have the choice, do you want online class or in-person class? And I remember I shared that result in previous meeting that at least during the summer, 1/3 of my students send me reply, and half of them want in-person class, half of them want online class. And the reasons are also very clear. People who want online class, they are afraid of the virus. And people who want in-person class, because they feel they have better learning from in the classroom, or they feel they pay the tuition fee and they don't want to get something different than they expected. Or so at first, I really want my student to choose if you want online class or in-person class. And I also have labs in my circuit and electronic one class. So I said you can also select that one. Even if you want online lab and in-classroom lecture, everything is okay. We can always discuss that. It's very flexible. However, finally, UGA and the College of Engineering said we cannot allow students to have 100% online class unless they have a real medical reason or whatever. So actually, after discuss with the school chair this semester, I use flipped classroom. So I upload the PPT slides and even some videos on ELC. Students can learn by themselves. However, in class, I also come every class, and students can also come. It's not just a QA session. I really just teach as normal. So if students want to stay at home and study by themselves, it's okay. And if they want to come, and I also teach like normal. Fortunately, I have 40 students in the whole semester. They are in 2 sections, exactly half, 20-20. And the classroom size is larger, a little bit larger than 20. That's why I don't need to worry about how to separate them into 2 groups. Just half of them come on Monday, half of them come on Wednesday. So that's an easy part for me. And I also said, if you want online labs, then give me the names. I put them names in ELC in the announcement. So every student can see who is doing online, who is doing in the in the lab. So I said, if you want to form groups of 2, then you can contact with each other. If one people is focused on the software simulation, one people is focused on the hands-on work, I think that might be helpful. And I also talked with a student about the synchronous or asynchronous class. So during the spring semester, I really want them all online after the spring break. However, in spring break, all my class start from 8 a.m. It is very difficult for the students, and they complained about it. So after a meeting, we finally decided to use a asynchronous class. So I make a video and put them on ELC so students can watch it. And this semester, all my class are in noon time. So students do not have any excuse. They should be able to join on time. So I want to select the synchronous. But during the Zoom meeting, still some of them said, what if my internet has a problem? And they still ask for the videos. That's why when I teach in the class, half of them sit in the classroom, half of them are on Zoom. I still use the video function, and then after that, post it on ELC, so everyone can get it. Other things like during the meeting, before the semester, I explore different teaching methods with students when they are on Zoom, and we discuss how to teach, how to deliver the information. So in this semester, here are the 2 methods I use when I really want to draw something. One is that I use the PPT slides and then just use annotation. And actually, this method is suggested by a student. So that's a good way. And we also find that when I use annotation, actually more than 1 people can write on it. For example, I use the blue ink to draw this one, and the student said, hey, I have some different idea. Then the student can use a different color and write at the same time. So we can discuss together. And if I really write a lot of details, then probably I will write on a piece of paper or write on the writing board and then use my cell phone. So that's a second device to join the Zoom meeting. I share the screen using this one, so my student can also see everything clearly. I already use this both ways in my class. So far, the feedback is good. And I also found that we got headphones from the college before the semester starts. So in the first week, when I tried the wireless headphone, it didn't work. And then I use my cell phone as a microphone. So when I walk around in the classroom, I use my cell phone to talk, and the online student can still hear it. So I think it's really helpful. You have more devices in the Zoom meeting. So in my current class, actually, I have 3 devices in the classroom. One, I use it to share the PPT slides. The second one, I use my laptop to put in front of myself. When I walk around in the front area, students can still see me. And the third one is my cell phone. So if I need to talk or if I need to show them some detailed explanation, they can see it. Other things like one student suggests me use GroupMe. So I have heard that for a long time because previous years students mentioned that one to me, but I never really tried it. But this time I want better communication between student and me, and also I want better communication between students so they can help each other. I tried some function on ELC that doesn't work very well, but some of my students said we should use GroupMe, and he helped to set up our class in the GroupMe, and I tried it. It seems working very good. I already see them during these 2 or 3 weeks. A lot of questions there. They answer questions to each other. They help with each other for labs, for lecture or video or whatever. So I think that is a very efficient way. And in the summer, I also worked with an instruction agility team. to convert some of my labs to online labs. Because I have both lecture part and lab part, I need to make sure if some students don't want to come to the classroom and want to do online labs, all the circuit are working there, or at least all the concept I want them to see can also be seen in the software. That's why this team worked with me, 3 undergraduate students. They tried all my lab content in Multisom and even make 2 videos, tutorial videos. So I put all of them online this semester for the online students. And during the summer, some of my students even asked whether we can have some lab kits for checkout. So I think that's a great idea. I ordered some wires, some circuit board, and some components. So I told the student, if you want to stay at home, but you also want to do some hands-on work, come to me. You can check out some equipment. I think that should be very, very helpful. And actually, in my previous years, I ordered different sensor, even small solar panel, and put a lot of stuff in my office. When students want to do some DIY project, they can also come to me to get some components. So, finally, to summarize the flexibility I provide to the student, I think flexibility is definitely needed because they may have family issue, health issue, technical issue, and so on. That's why, if possible, I always want them to have the flexibility. When they have online lab, of course, it's flexible because they can do whatever they are available. And last semester, some students even discussed with me about the flexible exam schedule. I remember that after my final exam start, I just monitoring the access time on ELC because I upload all the final exam onto ELC. So when students come to ELC to download the exam, I can see, okay, they access it. And I see 2 students didn't show up. That's why I sent them email to ask what happened. And one people replied to me after 20 minutes saying his home lose power. So he drive 20 minutes to somewhere, maybe a restaurant with internet access to start the exam. So I said, if you need, we can reschedule it, something like that. So I do think we need some backup plan. And I even talk with my student, do you want an oral exam? Actually, I always want to try it, but so far, no one dare to try it. they don't want to do it. But I think that is actually something very interesting I want to try. So this semester, I will still give this opportunity to my student. And some of you might know that I have been giving optional project to my student for a few years. Every year in my circuit class or electronic class, students have the choice whether they want to do an optional project or not. If they want to do it, they choose it by themselves based on their background and interest. So here showing one student last spring semester, that's from my electronic 1 class. This student has heart problem, so he has pacemaker in the body. That also make him have great interest in studying how pacemaker works, how people's heart works. So he has a lot of equipment at home. His parents support him to do DIY stuff. So he finally makes some devices attached to his body, and then he can monitor the heartbeat. And also he studied what this diagram means for each feature. This example is another student. He made a self-watering system still from last spring semester. He used Arduino and connected to some water bottle, and then connect the sensors and the motors. So when the flower is too dry, and then the motor start, and it can do the watering. So that's just some examples. Actually, every year in my class, there are a lot of students, they do all kinds of projects. Of course, due to the coronavirus, last semester, such hands-on work are less than before. other students choose to use software to do some circuit study to simulate something or design something. Okay, so that's about the flexibility part. Finally, as an educator, I think it's always good to prepare and plan in advance. And also, I always like to try new techniques if possible. And I also feel that if we really care and respect the student, they can feel it, and they have the self-motivation, and they will show great progress. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kun. Round of applause. I've always admired your ability to connect with students. And when we were reading some of our SenseMaker results last semester, there were some that would talk about how great their instructor communication was and one-on-one, consideration for student needs. And I was like, huh, I wonder if they're talking about Kun.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have about 4 or 5 minutes for questions. We can probably take 1 or 2. I'll start with one. You were talking about the annotation feature being able to, like, you can do it both with yourself annotating and students. So was that like you projecting the PowerPoint blank and then using the Zoom annotation as opposed to PowerPoint annotation?
Yes, Zoom annotation doesn't work well. I think because some resolution problem is always flashing. That's why I use TPT blank page.
Gotcha. But it's actually the annotation feature in PowerPoint.
Right. I think I just show a blank page in PPT slides and use the annotation to do it.
The annotation feature in Zoom.
Yes, yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, so you have to try it. I tried with my students. They said this is good, that is not good. That's why I know how to do it.
Any other questions?
I was wondering, with the flexibility, asking students what they want, have you found yourself in a situation where you couldn't respond to the vast degree of flexibility that they wanted, or did you find that that was always a productive conversation? I mean, if students are sort of asking, hey, we want to do this, 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 and this, and then does it become too complicated, or how has it worked out?
I think the student also will not give too weird requirement, right? Everything makes sense. So of course, I also said you can let me know what you think good, but I cannot guarantee it. I will try my best to do it if it's possible, but I cannot guarantee. So we need communication. I think the most is communication. Student and me, we understand each other. We are on the same boat, and we want the class good. We want the teaching and the learning good, and then everything will be easier.
And you spoke about GroupMe, and then there's also email. What have you found to be the most effective way to communicate with your students?
I feel, for me, if they send me email, probably I have to check email time by time. But if they use GroupMe, the cell phone has a text message. I can immediately know it. So sometimes after a student asks a question, 3 minutes later, I can reply to him. And also, sometimes before I reply to him, I see other students already reply to him. I think I actually tried the discussion function on ELC. And I remember ELC also have some other function. I tried them, but it seems doesn't work very well. At least GroupMe is easy so far.
So Ray was having some trouble connecting. He's on his way in, so we have time for a couple more questions, or we have a smaller group now. We can just open it up to general discussion.
Yeah, because maybe other people also want to share something, right?
So I'm curious, what all, for you all, what has worked best this semester? Like, what's been your most unexpected finding from your classes?
I can share one, because I ask my students to choose whether they want to do in-person lab or online lab. Online lab means they only use software to do the simulation. They don't need to really build any circuit, so they don't have to come to classroom. However, this method, I found a few students sit in the classroom and use software. They don't touch any hands-on part. I said, you choose online lab, shouldn't it? Because you are afraid of the virus. If you don't afraid of the virus and come to the classroom, why don't you do the hands-on work?
Sid, you look like you've got something.
No, I look like I have nothing. Nothing. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, but I feel this semester is really difficult to know each student when they are wearing face mask. It's very hard.
So I just saw that Ray joined in. Welcome. You're muted right now, but now you are unmuted.
Yes. Hi. Hello, everyone. Good to see your face.
It's good to see you too. The floor is ready for you. When you're ready, you should have permission to share your screen.
Okay, sure. Okay. Sorry for the waiting. And yeah, here's the teaching experience over the last in the spring semester. I have an honor to be have a class, have 2 sessions in ECE, and thanks to EETI and also School of ECE to make the arrangement. So here's the background for this course. Is ENGR 2070. Is I guess Kun and as well as Dr. Adele knows this course well, and fundamental of circuit analysis. This course is for non-majors. Can anyone hear me clearly, or do I need to increase the mic volume? Okay, nice. So this circuit, this is about understanding fundamental electronic knowledge for this course. And I have the chance to teach 38 students, 3rd year and 4th year. And 70% of them are mechanical engineer, and 30% is biomedical. And yes, so unfortunately, there is no electrical engineer in the course. And so they have limited knowledge about the EE, about the electrical. So that's the background for this class. And next, I'm going to want to share with you some of the insights, how I teach the lab. And yeah, feel free to give me any questions later. And it is very new to me at the beginning, but during this the spring semester, I just gradually learned some more skills. And in the lab, it's using as a remote format after the March. So I'm using a Zoom meeting. So this could be a chance to encourage like a peer learning experience for the students. And I have 2 Zoom meetings and 10 breakout rooms in total. And me and my TA has already discussed this in advance, like how we could set up the meeting. And I will allocate 5 breakout rooms in one on my PC and another 5 breakout rooms in my TA's laptop. So that is easier to communicate with students. That's to facilitate, because if I have all the 10 breakout rooms in my own laptop, it's hard to get around the rooms. So could make the process faster. And before we go into the breakout rooms, we have I will give a short introduction about what's the lab about. You can see on the picture here, down here, and it's an ENGR, and I will show the objective of this course. And after the introduction, I will split. I will show them the list, like a pair list, and ask them to assign them to different individual groups. Then I say, now it's time for you to get into the what we call the VIP rooms, like for each pair, and then I will send out the link over the Zoom chat, and they join the Zoom meeting, another Zoom meeting on my TA's Zoom meeting, and also in my own Zoom meeting, I will start allocate the people into breakout rooms. And the lab is mainly run for 2 hours, but some students, they have some difficulty in between. So I will tend to run a bit overtime if they are allowed, if they agree. to give more flexibility during this time. So, and on the picture on the right-hand side here, you can see the structure I have been talking about. You can see the instructor, and student A and B is paired into one group, and C and D is paired another group. E and F, same here in the meeting hall. And then after I give the short introduction, they allocate them into each rooms, breakout rooms, and the instructor will come into each breakout room every 5 to 10 minutes to check in, and they can raise their hands like notify us through the Zoom as well. So I will be like always around my laptop during this time. That's how I handle this. And the other important part is I'm using the remote lab software called LabsLand, and this has in general this has a very good many good features to do. And the first is it has this very nice user interface, just like a real breadboard. So the people can like choose different colors of wires and link their components on the top, and then it can have some simple assembly. But this is mainly fulfill my lab requirements for the ENGR 2070. It's mainly fulfilled, but I'm not sure about other courses. But this is good for my ENGR 2170. And the other one is other good way I want to show is you can show the user the usage, like every day, like from you can see down here is like a Monday to Sunday, and you have different time location, like how often they can use it. So I can know the pattern, like whether students can fully engage into lab activity or not. So I can talk to them, like maybe give them some advice. So that is another good feature I want to show you. So that's the overview for the lab. Any questions so far? If I move on. Okay. So and yes, feel free to give me some advice for the future. And next part I want to show you is about the exams, how I do it. And I using the ELC quiz. Sorry, I forgot to put on here. It's called ELC quiz, and multiple choice questions. And I follow this guideline here. It's called Science Teachers Guide to Assessment. It is available on the EETI website. And how I prepare the test is I try to making like the questions like less than 20 questions, because I just want to them to no rush and fully understand the content. And I allow them to try 3 times on the quiz, 3 times, and I take the highest score as the final result. And as for the question type, is knowledge, comprehension, different types. Knowledge is more like a basic understanding, and this is going to from the left hand to the right hand is more high order of understanding. To the synthesis is the final. It's like a more advanced understanding. So like for example, I will show you an example later. So they can have like given a scenario, then they know how to apply the knowledge in a new environment, a new engineering environment. And this exam I will set up for 3 days, and they can start, stop, and complete anytime they want during the 3 days, but no more. And like after 3 days is I set a deadline, and you cannot submit your result any longer. And for DRC registered students, I give them 1 extra day. And before the exam, it's very important to test run the quiz. To like I will test run myself, and also I will ask my TA to test run it to see whether it can run smoothly. And also you need to notify students at least 1 week before the exam, just give them like a mental preparation, what's going to happen, and show them the exam format. And I will allocate at least one tutorial class for them to practice the knowledge, the scope of the exam. Okay, that is how I handle it. And here's the sample question I developed for the synthesis questions. So I just give them a scenario, like engineer Zoe is building a fan and a resist circuit. And what is the so this is from the simulation software, this diagram. So they are familiar with that. When after they done the lab, they're familiar with this kind of diagram, and it's given 4 different options to choose. And this multiple choice question, you can choose more than one. You can choose more than one. It's like so it's like no, there is no for the right answers, I give them 1 point. If they don't answer correctly, I wouldn't penalize them. So that's the grading principle for this. Okay, so during the exam, I will set up the office hours, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sorry, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. And I will keep checking the emails and just waiting for something like solving the technical issues, or asking for, if they asking for they have one of my students have a family to visit, because it's unfortunately it's a family emergency, so I need to make up make up exam for them for the student. And after the exam, I will post the results on ELC, allow them to have a personal discussion with me for the exams yeah. And yeah, so the exam turns out quite they handle the situation quite well. And the way I set up is I allocate 30% as a basic question, 30% as the intermediate difficulty level of difficulty, and another 40% is more advanced level. So, but fortunately they handle it quite well, and you can see that's the score distribution for the exam. I guess the take-home message is to you really need to understand the students, what's the intention during this time, and just give them lots of heads up and in front, because some of them are moving houses, or some of them having financial difficulties. Just give them lots of mental preparation. What's going to happen in the next 1 week, and yeah, communicate with them well, and understand their difficulties. That's the key for me. And flexible with your schedule, whether it's you're doing a lecture teaching, or you're doing exams, keep them rooms, and set up a plan B. That's the thing. That's actually the 4th thing. Prepare for the worst. Always set up a plan B for anything happening. And if the student they can easily go panic. So you need to okay, don't worry, I have another plan for you if this one doesn't work out. So just help them to get mentally settle down, so we can do the teaching. So that is the key during this special time. And last but not least, working with your TA. TA is a very unfortunately to have a very good TA with me, and he's a very useful resource, and he knows the class quite well, fortunately, and he knows how to actually in some aspect he even know how to handle the students better than me, because they are roughly the same age. So yeah, and I really appreciate his help, and just help work with him, and set up the schedule, and asking for his advice. From your point of view, what's the best way to conduct the lab? Or yeah, just ask him as a friend. That is probably another way I can share. So just an effective team working experience in this in my past spring semester. Of course, Dr. Moloch has already given me some very useful advice how to handle different situations. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's so much for me. And it's very sorry, it's a very short presentation. And yes, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Great, thank you, Ray. A round of applause. So I did have the pleasure of supervising Ray last semester, but it turns out he really didn't need me at all. He did an exemplary job of being compassionate to students as they were going through the difficult time of the transition to online, and I thought his approach to how he handled it was just
I forgot to thank you, Dr. Kun and Dr. Adele. They gave me a lot of hints as well how to handle the students. Thank you, and also Dr. May, and of course Dr. Sidas and Dr. Nika. Nico, is Barbara, and thank you for the team, and it's a very amazing experience I have.
I'm happy to take any questions now for Kun, or no, not Kun, for Ray.
I thought your exam looked really interesting, how you divided it up into the different kinds of questions. And I was wondering, so one might expect that more people do better on the knowledge questions than on the synthesis. Did you see that the synthesis questions were a lot more challenging?
Actually, let me share the screen with you. I may have this in front of me. Yes, I think the reason why I forgot to mention this very important thing. I keep this as open book exam. So open book exam. So I think is the way I think the challenging part for synthesis question is they need to know they not just remember the knowledge. They need to know how to apply the knowledge. Yeah, to a new scenario. So that is the key challenge for them. And so there's nothing you can refer to. You cannot go into I'm not sure if they can ask for an online consultant or something like that. But yes, there is no real a duplicate example, because I make the case myself, totally from my own experience, and so I want to see how they handle the new scenario, and but I have already give some very not similar some steps to apply in my lectures. So they can follow the steps, follow the guidance to solve the problem. So it's rather for me to teach them how to fish, just give them the fish, then just give them the fish. Yeah, so I want to teach them the method. And that is the point to have the synthesis questions. For sure, it is a higher level of difficulty, but I give them 3 days to solve the problem. So in terms of time, I want them to really learn this by their heart, rather than just remember some facts and remember how to apply the formula. And this is not going to be very useful for their future career. But yes, that's my goal. And of course, the knowledge part is essential as well, because some students, they're from different backgrounds, mechanical engineering or chemical engineering, and they need something to start with to get them put into a. So if I give them a very difficult questions, and a question 1, they will freak out, they will be panic. So I want to a gradual level of increase of difficulty for them, to make sure they have the yeah. So that's my point. Do I answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, that resource that you shared on that slide, I forget the exact name of the book, but the resource that's on EDI's site around science exam development does a great job of sort of breaking down how to design multiple choice questions around different levels of Bloom taxonomy. I know that for all of us, being able to see the work is always, the optimal case to be in. But if you're wanting something that's a little less work intensive in terms of grading and in terms of, translating written problem work to an online format, that resource gives some great examples about how to translate those kinds of problems into multiple choice format in a way that's still valuable to students, not just a do they remember this fact kind of question.
That's correct. Let me quickly share the screen. You can see that's how I handle the questions, from question 1 to question 18. I have 18 questions in total, and the difficulty, I have an difficulty level. You can see there's 3 and 4, and from question 14 to question 18 is more like a scenario question, synthesis questions, and from question 1 to question 2 to question 13 is more like a knowledge based. Yes, that's how. And you can. I'm sure you have already used the quiz before, so I no need to. Just want to quickly share with you about my design. But thanks for thanks to the team and give me so much help. Thanks, really, thank you.